In 2011, Jake and his wife Tiffany had a tough time with their new house and busy jobs. Jake, 32, worked as a lead investigator at Independent Investigations Corporation Inc., and Tiffany, 29, was in charge of accounting at Dewey Cheatham Howe DCH. Early that year, Greg Bartlett became the new manager of DCH's city branch, and William Hansen, a VP from the New York office, transferred to their branch. By summer, their home construction was back on track, and they moved in that August, excited for a fresh start. Jake suggested they start trying for a baby. "I think it's time you stop taking your birth control pills, and we start trying," Jake said. Tiffany wanted to wait a bit longer. William suggested waiting until next year, saying Tiffany might get a promotion by the end of the year. Jake was annoyed. "Why did you discuss our family plans with him?" he asked. Tiffany explained. "He asked if we were planning to have children, so I told him we planned to start in the fall. That's when he suggested we wait until next year." Jake reluctantly agreed to wait until January. As the year-end approached, they were both very busy with work. At dinner one weekend, Tiffany shared some good news. "We're likely to close a deal with National Pharmaceutical by December 20th, which means I should get my promotion," she said. "That's fantastic," Jake replied. "Then we can start trying for a baby. How about tonight?" Tiffany said. "Not tonight. I'm still on the pill, and I want to settle into my new job first. And don't tell anyone about this. It could jeopardize the deal." Though disappointed, Jake understood. In December, they went to their company Christmas parties. At Ike's subdued party on the 6th, Jake and Tiffany enjoyed themselves with Jake's friend Bill Ripley and his wife Susan. The following Saturday, Jake found Tiffany troubled, staring out the window. After dinner, he gently probed what was wrong. "There's a problem with the pharmaceutical deal," Tiffany said. "Mr. Benson, their president, is making unrealistic demands. If we can't meet them, we might lose the contract. It could ruin everything for us." "It won't ruin everything. No matter what happens, we have each other," Jake reassured her. "What's the worst-case scenario?" "You don't get it," she replied. "If this deal falls apart, it could be because of me. And if I mess this up, I could lose my job. But how could it be your fault if you're not in sales? I can't say more. I'm not supposed to talk about it outside of DCH. All I can tell you is that I didn't do anything wrong. If you didn't do anything wrong, then why would you lose your job?" Jake pressed. "I've already said too much," Tiffany said. "I could get in trouble just for telling you this. Please let me handle this on my own." Jake wanted to say more, but saw that the conversation was over. The next week, Tiffany seemed distant and left for work early, saying she had important meetings. By Wednesday, she seemed a bit better. She kissed Jake and said she loved him. Jake asked, "Is work any better now?" Tiffany replied, "I can't discuss it with you. I'm under a lot of pressure, but I'll manage." That night, Tiffany sought comfort but wasn't interested in intimacy. Her issues weighed on Jake. Unable to sleep, he went downstairs for a drink and noticed Tiffany's briefcase. Compelled, he opened it and found her day planner, revealing meetings with Bartlett, Hansen, and Benson. On the month-at-a-glance page for December, Jake found puzzling entries. On the 6th, Tiffany wrote, "Started," and each day after was numbered 1 through 14. The 20th, marked 14, was circled and underlined. Jake wondered if it related to her meeting with Hansen that morning or the company Christmas party. He couldn't figure out the numbered days, but knew he needed time to understand. Over the next few days, Tiffany's mood improved, but she remained distant, going over a week without intimacy with Jake. On December 13th, Jake closed a case and celebrated with his colleague Bill Ripley over beers. Jake mentioned finding the numbered days in a planner, and Bill suggested he consult their top female investigator, Mary Farrell, for insight. Jake dropped the topic to avoid Bill getting suspicious. Another frustrating weekend passed. Monday morning, Jake mentioned possibly working late to finish his cases. Tiffany reminded him about the party Friday, insisting he be home by 7 to get ready. Jake finished his second case on Tuesday and took Tiffany out for dinner, but she said she was sick, and they still didn't connect. On Thursday, Jake invited Mary to lunch and explained some notes from a planner without saying who they were from. Mary smiled, understanding what he meant. "You said she wrote started on the 6th and then numbered the days from 1 to 14, with the 20th circled and underlined, right?" Mary asked. "Yes, that's correct," Jake said. Mary explained. The 20th was highlighted because she likely started tracking her cycle on the 6th. When her last period began, she counted 14 days to find the day she's most likely to get pregnant. She's tracking her cycle because she's trying to get pregnant. Does that make sense in your case? Jake was surprised. I'm not certain, but it could make sense in this case. Thanks for your help. Jake spent the afternoon puzzled why Tiffany was tracking her cycle when not planning to stop birth control. A tight feeling grew in his gut as pieces didn't add up. Arriving home around 5:30, Jake noticed the hall light on. Peeking in the window, he saw an undressed Tiffany at the top of the stairs with a towel and shaving cream. She paused in the living room, appearing lost in thought, not wanting to startle her. Jake entered through the garage so she'd hear the door. Inside, he heard another door close. Moving through the house, there was no sign of Tiffany. Tiffany, I'm home, Jake called out, heading upstairs. From the bathroom, Tiffany responded, You're home early? That's great. I'm in the bathroom getting ready. Why don't you use the shower in the guest bathroom? She suggested. Why, I'm busy in here. Jake walked into the bathroom. What did you say? Jake asked. Tiffany sat on the edge of the tub, quickly covering herself. But Jake saw she had shaving cream on her pubic hair. It was supposed to be a surprise, Tiffany explained. A surprise for who? Jake asked. For you, of course, Tiffany said. I wanted to surprise you when we got home from the party tonight. Did I ever say I wanted you to shave? Jake asked. No, but I thought, Tiffany started, but Jake interrupted. I don't remember ever saying I wanted you to do this. Where did you get the idea that I wanted you to shave? I've never said anything like that. Tiffany struggled to answer. I thought it might be something new. A lot of women are doing it these days, and I thought you might like it. Don't you think we should have talked about this first to see how I feel? Maybe, but it's not a big deal. It's my body, and if I want to shave, it's my decision. It'll grow back if we don't like it. Her point made sense, but Jake wasn't ready to concede. Don't do it now. Let's discuss it later. If it's that important to you, you can shave tomorrow. Tiffany looked angry and fearful, which puzzled Jake. I'm ready to do it now. So why should I wait? She demanded. Because your husband is asking you to wait. I don't want you to shave. I don't want to feel like I'm with a child. Why is it so urgent that you do it now? Jake asked. I was ready to do it, and I want to do it now. It's my body, and if I want to shave, I will, Tiffany said. Fine, go ahead and shave. But if you do, you'll have to go to the party alone, Jake said firmly, turning to leave. Why are you being so unfair? It's something I want to do. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? Tiffany pleaded. I'm making a big deal? Jake asked. Because I don't think you're being honest about why you want to shave. You know I like your hair, so I know this isn't about me. If you can't tell me the truth, then I won't discuss this any further. You can leave it alone and we'll go to the party together, or you can shave and go alone. It's up to you. Tiffany sat down the razor, showered, and remained silent as she dressed provocatively. Jake suspected it wasn't for his benefit. At the party, Hanson greeted them and pulled Tiffany aside. She nodded and shook her head during their conversation, which upset Hanson. He smiled and suggested something Tiffany agreed to, though she was hesitant. Tiffany told Jake that the pharmaceutical deal would be closing that night with a meeting at 10 p.m. If it went well, she'd get her promotion. Jake asked if they could start trying for a baby afterward, and she agreed, but not very excitedly. At the party, Jake noticed a man in an Armani suit by the bar whom he didn't recognize. He pointed him out to Tiffany and asked, Who's that guy by the bar? Tiffany replied. I don't know, sounding unsure. She then suggested, Why don't we grab a drink at the bar? Some of my colleagues are here. I want to say hello to them. Could you get us drinks and I'll wait here? Tiffany countered. At the bar, Jake greeted the man. Mr. Benson, how's your evening going? How do you know me? Benson asked, surprised. It's part of my job. I need to take this wine to Miss Thompson first. Then I'd like to chat with you, if you're okay with that. Benson studied Jake wearily. Sure thing. I'll be right here. After bringing Tiffany her drink, Jake returned to Benson. I'm Jake from DCH Security, just ensuring everything goes smoothly tonight. Looks like Mr. Hanson's planned an enjoyable evening. That's what he's saying, Benson replied. I'm just passing time until things kick off. Sounds like that starts around 10 for you. You seem to know a lot, Benson said nervously. It's part of the job, Jake said, giving a wink. Tonight, I'm here to make sure you're not disturbed, especially later. You like brunettes, right? Love them, especially with long hair. Like Miss Thompson? Benson replied with a smirk. Jake tried to stay calm. I bet you're like me. You like a lot of hair up top but none down below, right? He added, winking again. Bald is nice, Benson chuckled. Jake moved on before losing his temper. I need to circulate now. Make sure everyone's where they should be. If you run into any trouble, find me." As Jake walked away, he muttered curses. When the band started playing, Tiffany declined a man's invitation to dance and pulled Jake onto the dance floor. Jake kept an eye on Benson, not wanting him to realize he was Tiffany's husband yet. After a slow dance with Tiffany holding him tightly, they returned to their table. Greg Bartlett approached with a small package, whispered to Tiffany, and left. She hid the package and leaned down to Jake. "I need to go to the restroom," she said. Jake sensed something troubling in her eyes. "Don't do it," he warned. "Do what?" Jake grabbed her arm firmly. "You know exactly what I mean. I'm not stupid. I know what's going on here. Stop it now." "I don't know what you're talking about. I just need to go to the restroom," Tiffany said, pulling away and leaving. While Tiffany was gone, Jake put together some troubling details. Tiffany calling Hanson by his first name, her mood about the deal, the meetings, tracking her cycle, and their argument about shaving. He suspected that Benson had made her shave for him. Earlier, Jake had seen Hanson touch and undress Tiffany through the window. Realizing what was happening, Jake went through the garage to stop them. Looking outside, he saw Hanson quickly heading to his car. Jake figured that Bartlett's package must have had shaving cream and a razor for Tiffany. It was 9:45, and time was running out. As Jake looked for Tiffany, the band announced a break. He saw Benson, Bartlett, and Hanson at the bar and approached the lead singer. "Can you keep your mic on? I need to make a few announcements." "Sure, no problem," the singer replied. "It's already on. Just flip the switch on the side and you're good to go." Jake gathered his thoughts and switched on the mic. "Can I have everyone's attention, please?" The room grew quiet and Tiffany stood in the doorway. Jake glanced at the three men watching curiously. "Thank you. I just want to take a moment to speak on this special occasion. First, I want to say what a fantastic party this is. Let's give a round of applause to those who organized it." Almost everyone clapped as Tiffany walked toward Jake, looking fearful. "I've had a few drinks and I'm feeling good, so I hope this comes out right. I want to share some things about my wife, Tiffany, and me." Jake smiled at Tiffany, then turned to the men at the bar. "First, some good news. Tiffany and I are expecting a baby." Applause broke out. Tiffany covered her face, looking embarrassed. Hanson appeared angry, Bartlett puzzled, and Benson's expression was unreadable. And there's more good news. "Tiffany told me tonight that she's getting a promotion because of her work on the national pharmaceutical deal. I hear that Tiffany, Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Hanson, and Mr. Benson will be upstairs signing the contract. Isn't that great?" More applause filled the room. Tiffany sank to the floor and said, "Oh, God, please stop." The first two men looked furious while Benson seemed amused. "This evening started off so oddly that I figured I'd share it with you. When I got home from work tonight, I found my wife in the bathroom about to shave and not her legs or armpits." Some laughter rippled through the stunned crowd. "We argued about it. She said it was supposed to be a surprise for me, and I told her not to do it. I thought I'd won that argument. Or at least I thought so. Now I realize she wasn't shaving for me. She was doing it on William's orders." Tiffany lay on the floor crying. Hanson's face burned red as he trembled. Bartlett strode toward Jake as if to stop him. Tiffany shaved because she was supposed to be a gift to Mr. Benson tonight, and he wanted her shaved. "Apparently your company's management thinks it's good business to encourage employees to sleep with potential clients to secure contracts, even if it wrecks a marriage." Bartlett tried to grab the mic. Jake yanked it away and switched it off. "Listen, jerk, you try grabbing this mic again and I'll drop you like a sack of bricks. Actually, now that I think about it, I might do that anyway." Bartlett stepped back and looked at Hanson. Jake turned the mic back on. "Lastly, this is for Bartlett and Hanson. I'm suing this company for what you did to my marriage, and I expect a fair settlement. Part of that means you two are getting fired, along with anyone else involved in this mess. Good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your party." The room went silent. Jake sat down the mic, walked to Tiffany on the floor, and squatted beside her. "Tiffany." She looked up, tears streaming. "Jake, I'm so—" "Tiffany, don't say anything. Do you still think you'll get that promotion?" Jake stood, glanced at Tiffany one last time, and left. In the lobby, Hanson blocked his path. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Hanson demanded. "Yeah," Jake replied. "I screwed you before you and DCH could screw my wife. And I hope I cost you millions. I'd hate to think we went through all this for just a few $100,000. You're going to pay for this," Hanson warned. "Actually, I think you'll be the one paying," Jake retorted. Along with my lawsuit, I'll be making your business practices very interesting. Jake turned to leave, but Hanson grabbed his arm. Just a minute, I'm not done with you. Jake shook off his grip. Touch me again, and you won't leave here tonight, he warned. As he walked away, he heard Hanson swearing. At home, Jake drank whiskey to forget everything. On his second drink, he saw a blue plastic case hidden in a potted plant. It was Tiffany's birth control pills. When he opened it, he saw it was completely full. After more drinks, Jake woke up on the sofa on Saturday, feeling dizzy and sick. He took a shower and made coffee. Tiffany wasn't home, probably because she was scared or angry after he messed things up. Jake thought about what to do next, feeling hurt by how much he had loved Tiffany. Her willingness to be intimate with a customer, even shaving for him on Hanson's orders, was devastating. He doubted he could forgive her, but felt she deserved a chance to explain. As Jake waited, the phone rang. He answered on the sixth ring. Mr. Thompson. Yes, this is Special Agent Mark Walker of the FBI. Is your wife with you? My wife isn't home. What's this about? I need to talk to you. Can you come to my office this afternoon? Jake agreed to meet at 2 p.m. He wondered why the FBI was interested in him, guessing it was about a recent case. But Agent Walker's invitation made him uneasy. At 1 p.m., Jake drove downtown to the FBI offices. The receptionist asked him to wait for Agent Walker. Mr. Thompson, thanks for coming. Please follow me. In a conference room, Agent Walker offered Jake coffee, and they sat down across from each other. Should I call you Special Agent Walker or Mr. Benson? Jake asked. Why not try Mark? And you can call me Jake, Agent Walker replied. I imagine you must be pretty confused right now. Yes, I am, but I think I'm starting to understand. You were undercover as Mr. Benson. That's correct. I'm relying on your discretion to keep everything we discuss confidential, Mark said. I'm an investigator myself, so I understand. I'm still unsure if you're on my side or not. I hope you can explain all of this, including how my wife got caught up in this mess. I'll tell you what I can and answer your questions, as long as it doesn't mess up our investigations, Mark said. All right, I'm listening. But I have to say, I'm really angry that my wife was manipulated like this. It might have ruined my marriage. Things might not be as bad as you think, Mark replied. Let me explain everything first, and then you can ask your questions. Mark then explained that the SEC had contacted the FBI with troubling information about DCH's business practices from an insider. The FBI investigated and found enough evidence to start undercover operations. They discovered that DCH was trying to interest National Pharmaceutical in a merger. The real Mr. Benson, worried about DCH's methods, agreed to let Mark pretend to be him. Mark convinced Hanson and Bartlett that he was Benson, leading them to believe he would sign a contract. As they expected the deal, Mark wanted to see how they would persuade him to sign. So, you involve my wife? Jake asked. Not exactly, Mark said. During my initial visits, I met your wife and mentioned wanting to speak with her. Hanson said, she's quite attractive, isn't she? I agreed. But that wasn't my reason. Why did you want to talk to her? I told Hanson that because Tiffany was head of accounting, I wanted to discuss the company's financial health. The real reason was that your wife had alerted the SEC about how DCH was conducting business. So, Tiffany knew you were working undercover for the FBI. No, she didn't. I couldn't tell her, Mark replied. The information she provided implicated people higher up than Bartlett and Hanson. Given that my mission was to investigate them, I couldn't be sure she wouldn't expose me to protect the others. Jake realized Tiffany had blown the whistle on the company executives. Mark continued explaining how he hinted to Hanson about backing out of the deal. Hanson asked what it would take to secure my commitment. I inquired what he had to offer. That's when Hanson said, I noticed you found Tiffany Thompson attractive. How would you like to get with her? I was taken aback. I expected a bribe. Curious to see where this would lead, I indicated I might be interested, but I didn't commit. The next part may be difficult for you to hear, but it's crucial to the story, Mark warned. There's nothing you can say that would be more upsetting than what I've already been through. Mark met with Hanson again days later. Hanson confirmed that his offer meant arranging for Mark to have an intimate relationship with Tiffany if she was worth it. Hanson assured him that Tiffany would be worth it and mentioned she had shaved. Wouldn't you like that? He asked. So you never suggested that Tiffany shave herself? Jake asked. No, Mark said. I wasn't planning on being intimate with her, so that idea never occurred to me. I also wasn't sure how Hanson would keep his promise. I asked him how he planned to convince a married woman to do this in exchange for signing a contract. Don't worry about that. If you want her, she's yours, shaved and all, was his response. Jake cursed Hansen. Mark let Hansen continue, then asked when he could meet with Tiffany. Hansen said they could do it at the Christmas party. Jake's mind reeled from the information. So, you were really going to go through with it. You were going to have intimacy with my wife, just to keep your undercover investigation going. No, that wasn't my plan at all, Mark clarified. Firstly, it would be unethical. Secondly, I was almost certain the room would be bugged to gather evidence. They wanted to use it not just to persuade me to sign, but also to potentially blackmail me. How are you planning to get out of it? I planned to back out at the last moment, claiming the conditions weren't right. Then I would propose closing the deal under the condition that Mrs. Thompson would join me in my hotel room after the party. I intended to reveal my identity and bring her here for questioning. Our plan was to arrest Bartlett and Hansen today. By this morning, we expected to have enough evidence to charge them both. Mark paused, then continued. Then last night you approached me and introduced yourself, saying you were with security. I knew who you were and worried you might be part of their plan. I wasn't sure where you stood until your speech, Mark said. Oh, damn, Jake replied. I hope I didn't mess up your investigation, but I couldn't just watch my wife be used in some business deal. I understand, Mark reassured him. Actually, you helped. Your actions kept me from having to go to their meeting last night at 10 o'clock. I left without revealing my cover and was able to talk to Hansen again this morning. He offered me a large sum to sign the contract today. I agreed to meet him in his office on Monday, where we plan to arrest him when he hands over the money. That's when we'll shut down DCH operations and thoroughly investigate every deal they've been involved in over the past 3 years. Jake tried to process everything. His mind spun with questions, but one stood out. I still don't know where Tiffany stands in all of this. Your wife was trying to do the right thing by reporting the company, Mark said. Regarding her involvement in the offer made to me, I suspect Hansen may have been coercing her, possibly blackmailing her. A thought occurred to Jake. Did they mention using protection? Yes, Mark replied. Once I agreed to the deal, Hansen emphasized that Tiffany insisted I wear protection. We wouldn't want to get the poor girl pregnant, would we? Hansen said. Jake's heart sank. He knew he needed to find Tiffany and hear her side. She wasn't entirely innocent, but there were circumstances that might explain her actions. Mark said that was all he could share for now, and advised Jake not to discuss the investigation or tell Tiffany anything yet. They would want to speak with her once Bartlett and Hansen were indicted. Jake agreed to keep quiet. They shook hands, and Jake left. At home, Jake found a message from Tiffany asking him to call. When he called, a woman answered and said Tiffany was gone. May I ask who's calling? The woman asked. Tell her it's her husband, Jake replied. When Tiffany got on the phone, she sounded nervous. Where have you been? I've been trying to reach you all day. Not all day, Jake said. I was home until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Oh, that's about when I started calling you, Tiffany said. Jake stayed quiet, waiting for Tiffany to explain. Jake, can I come home? Tiffany asked. This is your home, isn't it? You should be here now, Jake replied. I'll be there in an hour, Tiffany said. Jake hung up and started cooking dinner so they could talk later. He took Tiffany's birth control pills and put the case in his pocket. Tiffany arrived at 6:05. When she saw dinner was ready, some of the tension left her face. They ate in awkward silence until Jake asked where she had spent the night. One of my friends drove me home after you left. Oh, so you didn't stay for the rest of the party? Jake said. You pretty much ended the party with your speech. I guess I owe some people apologies for that, Tiffany said. Not to you, and certainly not to Bartlett or Hansen. You're right. I owe you an apology, Jake replied. Jake suggested they finish dinner first. Afterwards, Tiffany started cleaning up, but Jake insisted they talk immediately. In the family room, Jake demanded the truth. I'll tell you everything, Tiffany replied. She recounted how the day after Jake's Christmas party, Hansen called saying the pharmaceutical deal was in jeopardy. Mr. Benson would only sign if Tiffany agreed to intimacy with him. Tiffany was furious, but Hansen pressured her, promising a big reward. She said she needed time to think. Bartlett and Hansen kept pushing her. Hansen warned it would be her fault if the deal failed, and they'd fire her if she spoke up. She tried to tell Jake what she could. By Tuesday, Tiffany refused again. They told her to reconsider. Hansen claimed the company was missing over $100,000 and threatened an audit that would make Tiffany look like a thief. He promised money and a promotion if she obeyed, but threatened charges if she didn't. Tiffany felt she had no choice but to agree. Bartlett and Hanson kept pressuring her daily to not back out, insisting she was doing the right thing and Jake would understand. On Friday, Hanson said Benson wanted Tiffany to shave. She couldn't because Jake would be upset, but Hanson said it was non-negotiable or Benson would walk. Hanson told her to shave before the party without Jake seeing, and later say it was a surprise. If Jake got angry, she could just apologize and let it grow back. "So, was I right?" Jake asked. "Did you shave in the restroom at the party?" Tiffany looked down. "Yes, Mr. Bartlett sent someone to buy a razor and shaving cream, and I went into the restroom and shaved. When I came back to the party, I saw you with the microphone trying to get everyone's attention. I was so scared. I had no idea what you were doing, and I didn't know if there was any way I could stop you. I couldn't believe you said I was pregnant. I didn't say you were pregnant. I said we were planning to have a baby. We had discussed this, right?" "Well, yes, but what? Are we going to start a family or not?" "Yes, we are. I'll stop taking my birth control pills tomorrow, and then we can begin." Jake's expression hardened. "One more thing. Did you tell Benson he had to use protection?" "William said he would make sure Benson used protection. I'm glad he did because I hadn't thought about it. I was so stressed that I wasn't thinking clearly." Jake processed everything. "So what you're saying is Bartlett and Hanson pressured and blackmailed you into agreeing to have intimacy with Benson to close a business deal. They also insisted you shave yourself, but I messed things up by catching you in the act. Despite me telling you not to, you still went ahead and shaved. In the end, the only reason you didn't sleep with Benson is because my speech ruined everything. Is that about right?" "Yes, but I don't blame you for what you did. I understand why you reacted the way you did." "Good. So you forgive me for trying to stop my wife from being with another man." "That's not what I meant. I know you had every right to react like you did, and I shouldn't be upset with you. I'm upset with myself. I should have been honest with you from the beginning. Do you think you can ever forgive me?" "That depends." "Is that everything? Have you told me all I need to know about what's been going on?" "Yes, I've told you everything. I love you, and I can't bear the thought of losing you. Because of this mess I got myself into, well, things don't look as bad as they did at first. I just have a couple of questions I need answers to, and then maybe we can move past this." Jake took out the birth control pill case and tossed it on the coffee table. "I found this in the trash the other day, and it's full. You threw away all your pills last week, but you didn't tell me, and you even tried to make me believe you were still taking them. Just 5 minutes ago, you said you'd stop taking them tomorrow. Can you explain that to me?" Tiffany looked stunned, struggling to find an answer. "You're right. I stopped taking my pills. I planned to let you get me pregnant and then surprise you. I knew how much you wanted to start a family, so I thought it would be a nice surprise when I told you. That plan would have only worked if we were actually having intimacy, but we haven't since the day before you stopped taking your pills. I was just so upset about what Mr. Bartlett and William wanted me to do. I wasn't in the mood for it at that time." "Were you aware that last night was the most fertile night of your cycle?" Tiffany looked surprised. "No, I didn't know that. I had too much on my mind to think about it." Jake decided to stop playing games. "One more question. Tiffany, how long have you been involved with Hanson?" "What?" Tiffany could only manage to say. "No more lies. I know you were tracking your cycle and marked last night on your planner. I know Hanson insisted Benson use protection, and since we weren't intimate, Hanson is the only one left. He wanted to get you pregnant, didn't he?" Tears streamed down Tiffany's face. She didn't answer. "It was Hanson who wanted you to shave, not Benson. And you did it despite me telling you not to. It shows he has more influence over you than I do. He wants to have a baby with you. Did you think I'd be so naive to believe it could be mine? Or were you planning to leave me from the start? You spent last night with him, didn't you?" Tiffany cried loudly as Jake left the room. He returned with his suitcase. Seeing it, Tiffany jumped up and ran to him. "Please don't leave me. I love you. I don't love William. I told you, he blackmailed me. I had no choice but to do what he asked. Why didn't you just keep taking your birth control pills and lie to William about it? You had no problem lying to me." "Honestly, I trust what you told him more than anything you've told me recently," Jake replied. "By the way, I forgot to mention that while I was watching you in the living room last night, I heard you say I love you to that jerk. So where does that leave me?" "I don't love him. If I'm pregnant, I'll get an abortion. I love you." "Please, you have to believe me," she begged. No, I don't, Jake replied. And about the baby, don't get an abortion just because of me. Tiffany fell to the floor, crying. When Jake glanced back from the garage door, she looked as devastated as she did when he left her at the party the night before. He felt no love for her anymore, only disgust. Leaving the house they had worked so hard to build was tough, but it held no happy memories for him. They hadn't lived there long enough to create those memories. Second story, this situation is really tough for me. My girlfriend, who I've been dating since high school and part of college, moved in with me. A friend from high school and one of his friends from another state who also wanted to move in. I've been working and going to school all spring, and we planned to move in together at the end of spring or beginning of summer, which we did. I even got both of my supposed friends' jobs at my workplace. This week, I found out that my girlfriend has been sleeping with the guy I barely know who is my friend's friend. On top of that, my other friend has been hiding this from me. I wish that was the only problem, but it's not. I've been busy with work and school while my girlfriend has been unemployed. My friend has been calling out of work frequently to stay home. Even after I found out on Monday, I've ignored many things that upset me, like her coming into my room late at night, them watching loud movies until 4 or 5 a.m., him texting me every night asking if I'm awake or when I'll be home, and huge wet spots on the couch that were always from the dog. I even woke up one night to hear his furniture banging against my wall and other noises, but I didn't put it together, thinking it was just a girl he had met. I thought I loved this girl, but now I'm not sure. She's saying their relationship was just sex, and that she still loves me. This is a bit personal, but I've never made my girlfriend orgasm, and apparently this guy has. She used that as an excuse for why she's been having sex with him since he moved in, because it felt really good, which is crazy to me. She wouldn't tell me how it started, but it was obvious with the way he looked at her all the time and the 9 hours a day they spent alone. The worst part of this whole situation is that she's pregnant, and it's almost certainly his child. She wants to keep it because she thinks he'll get some inheritance from his grandfather, and that it will take care of her for life, which seems like absolute lunacy to me. I'm shocked by how naive I've been and horrified by the whole thing. I'm torn between loving this girl and dealing with this heartbreaking situation. I feel like I love her and want to make the relationship work if she really loves me, but I don't know if I can trust her. Any advice would be appreciated.